I'm Steph Stricklen with GeekWire Studios here at AWS reInvent, and I want to introduce you right now to my guest, Coburn Watson, who is the MVP Cloud Platforms at Capital One. Capital One is really a pioneer in working in the cloud, technology forward, always has been for a while, years ahead of the industry as I was looking back through some of the records. When we talk about cloud adoption and now pivoting into AI architecture and how we're working in that space, what does being cloud ready mean for Capital One?
That's a really good question, because as you know, we made it all to the cloud thing in 2015, 2020, shut down our data centers. And a good point is like, well, what's next? And we put this incredible foundation in place. And so now that we've I think we're very well managed around the cloud, it's like, how do we leverage AI and move to the next step? And part of it is building this foundation on the cloud where we remove a lot of the complexities that we don't need to worry about and let our developers focus on really applying AI more vertically. And that's been a big differentiator for us, because we remove a lot of the burden that some people have who are not in the cloud.
Working in AI vertically is a great way of describing moving at scale, which is really what this is all about. I want to talk about enhancing that developer productivity and enabling that approach more specifically.
One of the reasons to go to the cloud was to remove the burden of managing things, that as a developer, you don't come into working excited about fixing infrastructure things. You want to deliver value to the business. So we constantly think about, how do we take this magic of cloud abstracted capability and just unlock the potential of our developers? And so from a productivity perspective, Capital One has tens of thousands of engineers, and we spend a lot of time thinking about how much great product are we getting out of them, and how do we let them use AI to do that? And it comes back to having that cloud foundation under us for all the other dimensions.
Now you know I'm going to ask you for some specifics. Can you offer me some best practices in this space for sort of leveraging the cloud in the way that you describe when it comes to enabling your developers?
Absolutely. So being a bank, it's a different perspective on use of the cloud than maybe a startup. And part of it is we're so well governed by regulatory bodies. It's how do we take the complexities of governance, scalability, efficiency, and basically take that away from the developers because they shouldn't have to worry about it. And so part of the foundation of people moving to the cloud, if they want to enable their developers to be more productive, is think about all the specialized areas of your team: security, governance, financial management. How much can you build that into the systems on the cloud so that they don't have to worry about that? And I keep coming back to the same answer, but an example is cost efficiency. We're now working in areas where we're actually automatically resizing things under developers' workloads. They don't even know it's happening, they're just saving a lot of money. And so actually they get credit for it, but we're doing it at a platform level, which is really cool.
That is a great tangible example, and you touched on something in terms of the amount of scrutiny that a financial institution would have to deal with. I cannot think of any other business vertical out there besides maybe military security where data protection would be at sort of such a high paramount in the discussions that we're having. So I want to talk about strengthening resilience, because I hear about it over and over again, particularly in this conference. Even as it relates to agentic AI applications working on their own, how does a financial institution like Capital One make sure that they can accommodate both the regulatory issues that are unique to financial institutions, as well as the ability to be nimble and creative in what you're trying to do?
It comes back to that same aspect of there are some really important compliance dimensions that regulators care about. That's our top goal, but that's one inflexible component of how we operate. And what's amazing is we operate so well because we keep that away from the developers, but we're able to have a very good story, and the regulators are our partners, right? Our goal is to have a strong relationship with them, and it's really a two-way conversation. So when we have policies to implement, we look to see how we can best do that consistently across the entire footprint of Capital One. It ends up making it a very easy cycle of, look, we're building a bunch of great things, and here's how we're keeping it compliant with all the regulatory requirements. I'd like to think we're sort of a flagship in that respect, but it's really how do we make sure developers don't have to worry about things. Developers shouldn't have to explain to a regulator why they're not compliant. So we basically show that we have evidence that we are using the cloud well, and that's really our foundation for accelerating delivery.
Coburn, I'm wondering why it's important for you and Capital One to be here at AWS
Absolutely.
reInvent.
So I presented at the first reInvent in 2012. It's in my DNA. And when I come here, I find there's just so much passion about problem solving. And I also meet with people from Amazon, and I love seeing the product announcements. And what's great is, I've worked with multiple cloud providers, and Amazon really listens to their customers. If you look at their roadmap, from my experience, they're really based on a foundation from a product perspective on what their customers need. And so that's why I like coming here, is to see and what people are talking about, right? I get into small focus groups and like what matters to you. So I met with a financial services group, because every audience looks at it differently, but for Capital One, we are one of the first financial institutions to the cloud, and so we have to stay at the forefront, and that helps inform all of our conversations with everyone.
And on that note, I wish you the very best rest of your AWS reInvent.
Thanks, you too, Steph. Take care.
Thank you. I'm Steph Stricklen. You've been watching GeekWire Studios.